You know how people always have really nice backgrounds when they sit and they do a video? I have my washing basket. This is how a 28-year-old should not be living. And I had the whole weekend. I did nothing this weekend. Lazy, lazy lady. Welcome back to the channel, you guys. This is the first video I've done in a couple of weeks because I have a bit of a response to the last video, which was the Ashy Bynes response video. You can go and check that out if you want to. I'll put the link in the description box below. But today I wanted to talk about something that is pretty recurring in terms of what I see popping up in comments, questions that I get asked on Tumblr, and that is the question, when are you sick enough to go and get help for your eating disorder? This one I find difficult to tackle and to advise you guys on because I'm not a doctor and I'm not an eating disorder specialist, as I've stated many times before, but I can understand you're asking me from my experience, how I perceive when somebody is sick enough. And I'm not going to tell you individually how to manage your eating disorder, but I can tell you from my experience that I didn't think I was sick at all for a long time. I have said a few times, and I will end up doing a my eating disorder history story one day, because there's been a jump in subscribers and I've never really done it in a summarized version. But I didn't think that I was sick. I got sick when I was 19 and then got help when I was 25, whereas the average age of people suffering from eating disorders is 15. So I'm definitely outside of that average. When I finally realized that this pattern of restricting and binging and purging was clearly indicative of something bigger and badder, and I started to get a grasp on the fact that this was an eating disorder, I didn't feel like I was sick enough. I didn't fall into the stereotypical very, very thin, very underweight. I was 6 foot tall. I was very lean. I was very fit. I used to run constantly, do a lot of weight training and cardio. I looked healthy. I had long blonde hair. I was tanned. I was early 20s. I looked like I should have looked at that age. And I was so miserable and I was so sick. And my brain was so sick. I hated myself, the way that I spoke to myself, the way that I could force myself to do these horribly damaging, painful things is more of the telltale sign and symptom that there was something seriously wrong, rather than what I looked like and the fact that, no, I didn't weigh an extraordinarily low number. For my height I did, but because I'm so tall and I'm very broad, I've got broad shoulders, I've got the baby making hips. Seriously, a kid is just gonna like fall out of here one day. That is disgusting. Accurate. So I definitely felt like that if I reached that point, then yeah, I was sick enough. I like to compare it to a domestic violence situation. And that is, much like in a domestic violence situation, it isolates you. Slowly but surely, it removes you from your friends and your family when you feel too self-conscious, and I know that feeling where you think, if I could just be thinner, then I'd be allowed to go out with my friends. If I could just be thinner, I'd be allowed to go to that party. If I could just be thinner, I'd be allowed to go out on that date with that person. It isolates you because you're never thin enough, or you're never pretty enough, or you're never good looking enough. And so it takes you away from people who might be able to see and identify that something has changed, that something is up, that they need to speak to you and maybe flag a few of these issues with you. It sort of just keeps you to itself. And that's how I feel looking back on my eating disorder. I feel like it was just the two of us the entire time. So much like in a bad relationship, an abusive relationship, it starts slowly and then it's got a hold of you. And once it's got a hold of you, the chances of you extracting yourself from that successfully the first time, the second time, the 10th time, the 15th time, that margin gets wider and wider and wider and wider. If you identify from the start, if you have an inkling, if you're contacting people like me and saying, am I sick enough? Am I even sick? Do I have an eating disorder? That moment right there, any instinct you have to get clarification on whether or not somebody else has been through it, can see in you that you're going through something they've been through, that is the time to pick up the phone and call a helpline. That is the time to make an appointment with your GP. That is the time to sit down with a school counsellor or a parent or a friend or somebody who's going to be able to give you the agency and the help you need to identify whether or not this is something that you need to treat. There is no sick enough. Don't forget that 20% of eating disorder sufferers will die. A huge number of them because they commit suicide. Early treatment, getting your hands into this thing and ripping it out as early as possible is so essential. It's so essential. And forget stigmas, forget other people's opinions of what eating disorders mean and what they are. There are medical professionals out there who get it, who know what it is, who know what it takes to get through it and get over it and start living your life again. If you're asking me, am I sick enough? When am I sick enough? I can't tell you because I'm not trained, but I would tell you that the time to reach out to someone is now. So guys, that's it from me for this week. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, remember to hit subscribe. Another little bit of news, I have signed up for a half marathon. That's 21 kilometers. I don't know how much that is in miles. I've signed up for it. I'm going to be raising money for the Butterfly Foundation. I'll be making a video more about why I'm doing that. I'm going to post that to my personal Facebook page, which is something I've never done before. I've never spoken about my eating disorder on my personal Facebook page. So I'm sort of going to be outing my channel to my Facebook page in letting people know that I'm doing that half marathon. And I will be letting you know the whole backstory to that in an upcoming video. So please keep an eye out for that. Is this the point where I say much love, take care? I think so. Nope. If you want to come and find me on Twitter and Instagram, you can find me under What Mia Did Next. I will see you guys here next week with another video. In the meantime, much love and take care. Bye guys.